Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The number of Americans filing first-time claims for unemployment benefits dropped again last week to 444,000. The pace of layoffs has really slowed down around the country, and a number of employers are saying they can't find enough people to work. But 444,000 is still double the number of weekly jobless claims from before the pandemic. And more than 16 million Americans remain on some kind of unemployment assistance.
Yeah, but there's 8.2 million jobs available. Why are people not working? It's a fair question to ask. Look, the coronavirus kicked us straight in the grundle. It grundled us. Oh, God. But now we're at a point where we're past it. It's time to get back to work. There's still confusions on the mask thing. And should we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? Everybody's lifted something, but we're not quite sure if we do the right thing. We should make people wear a mask, even though they say you don't have to. Can we trust people to come into our stores and said, I've been vaccinated, I don't have to wear a mask? Because people lie. They do. You know it. But jobs are out there. But it's not the job I want. Again, that's the funniest thing in the world. It's not the job I want. Settle down, Cousin Eddie. Remember Cousin Eddie from the vacation movies? Like, why can't get a job? Well, there's lots of jobs available, but he's hoping for, mid-level management. Right now, I think people need to just get back to work. Get yourself back in the flow of things. I read an article the other day that people are struggling to drive their car because it's been so long. What? First of all, if you're having issues driving a vehicle because you haven't driven your vehicle in consistently for the last 16 plus months, you need to surrender your license. It's not that hard. It's not. But it's time to get back in the groove. Plenty of jobs available.
Job openings right now are at a record high in America. There are 8 million jobs available going into April, yet in that month, only about 250,000 people actually were hired. And the unemployment rate actually went up. We lost manufacturing, lost retail, we lost healthcare jobs last month. Construction jobs were flat. 10 million people are unemployed right now, even though there are 8 million job openings.
Yeah. Look, some people are perpetually unemployed. Some people should never be hired for anything. Jobs are available. It's not the job I want. I get that. I think a lot of people understand that this may not be the job you want, but even now, people aren't even wanting to return to their old jobs. Locally here we're having issues with several of our clients, not just me, but several. And the issue is they can't get enough people to run leads for home improvement or for any of the stuff that we're doing. They got all these leads. We can't fulfill them. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and one of the local clients I deal with, and they've got we've been doing really well. And they said, you know what, we're gonna push the pause button. They're like, why? They're like, we can't see people. There's only so many leads we can run. We can't, no matter what we offer people, we can't fulfill the things that we need to do to go out and see these clients. We just can't do it. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And some of these jobs, you're going to make at worst 50 and upwards to 6 figures if you're good. They can't do it. We got a big pool company here that goes out and cleans pools. They're offering pretty darn good wages. I mean, you're hanging out by pools all day. Pretty darn good wages. A ton of different benefits. Like a month off. All of this stuff. He's like, we can't find anybody. That's an issue. That's why I keep telling everybody, especially a younger generation, who has kind of enjoyed the fact that they were getting some cash sitting around. Take advantage of getting into a place right now, because eventually it's going to flip, and it will be an employer's marketplace, and they'll be able to look at people and say, nah, you can go into many of these places and kind of negotiate a much better deal that people several weeks and months down the road aren't going to get.
Nearly every American who wants a job should be able to find one. yet it's really not happening. Why can't small businesses find workers? Why are so many of these jobs unfilled? President Biden and Democrats are paying people to stay home. That's why so many people are staying home. They're being paid more to not work than to work.
John Barrasso right there, Wyoming. There's something to that. There is. We're going to talk about work throughout today because we should be back out there. People should be working. And I think some people are using the I'm scared because of the coronavirus as an issue. But at some point in time, you've got to get back on the horse, right? Back in your car. Learn how to drive that again. I can't believe people are having trouble driving cars. I cannot believe that. What is wrong with you? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Breakthrough infections. So Fauci's been out the last couple of days talking about, I think people misinterpreted what we were talking about with the mask. Can we just all, for a moment, right, whether you love Dr. Fauci and all this stuff, and I'm not thinking a lot of people listening love Dr. Fauci, and I don't think he's a bad guy. The CDC and the way that this thing has been handled across the board has been confusing. It's been perplexing. There's been mixed messages. All of those things are true. And I think if they were honest with themselves, they would say the same thing. Even now, it's like, how many of you are in places where you don't have a mask mandate anymore? That's been lifted. And at the same time, you're going into stores and they've not lifted theirs. And you're going into places where, maybe even your work where they're still keeping it on. And you're like, oh, my goodness, what is this all about? And it's frustrating. Now he's talking about breakthrough infections. So if you got an infection, a breakthrough infection essentially is a different variant that for whatever reason can Bo Jackson it, Barry Sanders it, get all the way through and still infect you as it dodges and weaves and bobs and gets to around all the antibodies.
There's certainly breakthrough infections. Breakthrough infections mean you have been vaccinated, but you still get infected. But the critical point is that I think 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 9 of them had no symptoms at all, which means it is very likely that the level of virus in their nasopharynx is low and they won't transmit it. So although you don't like to see breakthroughs, the fact is this is one of the encouraging aspects about the efficacy of the vaccine. It'll either protect you completely against infection. If you do get infected, the chances are that you're going to be without symptoms, and the chances are very likely that you'll not be able to transmit it to other people.
And that's what people want to know. They say they have a booster shot coming probably somewhere between August, October, September-ish. So that's good. Breakthrough infections, which that was always another big worry. We're moving in the right direction. The chances of you getting something that is such a breakthrough, or I'm getting something, or somebody that is going to put us back in that situation is so small. It's minute. It's minute. But we still go back to stores. Business owners are still struggling, trying to figure out what to do. How do they handle things? Because we live in a world of CYA-ing yourself. Some places, Texas, Florida, even parts here in Arizona. I will say this, where I live, and I call it the Valley of the Dirt People, Pinal County, our sheriff, Sheriff Mark Lamb, he has been, since the beginning of this, you know what? You live your life. You live your life out here, and that's it. I'm not going to enforce some of these insanities that they're throwing out here. And so we've been pretty, open. But a lot of stores and a lot of businesses are still mandating, and it's confusing because people don't know what to do. They don't. Like, do I wear a mask? Now it's like one of those things where I see people walking into places, and what do they have? They have their mask in their hand. They're not quite sure. They're going to take the temperature, walk in. So if there's 23 people in here, 18 of them have a mask on. I don't want to be the one that doesn't have it. And that's the issue.
Take an example of an establishment, a store, where we don't have passports for vaccine.
Right.
I mean, we don't know who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. I have heard of situations that a person who owns an establishment says, okay, they say that you don't have to wear a mask indoors if you're vaccinated, but I have an establishment in which there may be people who are unvaccinated and infected and other people who are unvaccinated and not infected, and there's a risk of transmitting it in my establishment. Therefore, that person has every right to say, when you come into my establishment, you better put a mask on. Otherwise, don't come in.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of that in some places. And it's not because I think the people that own these stores want that. I think what you're going to see a lot of it is they're CYA-ing themselves, and it's totally understandable. It's confusing. It's frustrating. Yet, at the end of the day, it's still their right to do so. It's still their right because they're worried about what we now know is simply the lawsuit happiness that is America, because we are happy to sue you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Hope you're doing a lot to get to today. We're going to talk a little bit about the January 6th special super investigation and report they're going to put out. 35 Republicans decided to say, yeah, let's do this. More on the AZ audit, which is it's chaos, to say the best. The greatest internet moments. Would you eat cicadas? And my story so far of the day, it may be my story of the year. My buddy and I were talking about it last night, about a rich businessman and his grown adult child. And I use the word child because, yeah, child. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Car Shield gives you 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop, and you choose the shop. If your car's a little bit newer, maybe you're worried more about like the GPS, right? You worry about your covered repairs. What if something goes wrong? And you need something to protect you from that, because while you may have your drivetrain and everything protected on a warranty, you don't have those things, and those things are expensive. Maybe your car is older and you've got no warranty on anything, and you're worried about things like your air conditioning, your transmission. Guess what? They've got a plan at Car Shield that's right for you. Sign up today. Save 10% by using code Benson. 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And that shop is the shop that you choose. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. Go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. Carshield.com. Code Benson, right there. Saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Podcasts are American as hot dogs, apple pie, football, and sushi.
Oh, my goodness. No.
Okay, maybe not sushi. Next time you have a craving for something sweet and tangy, download a Chad Benson Show podcast.
Boy, that is good. It's different. You get a little bit of saltiness.
It's so good because it's sweet and salty at the same time.
Get a taste on iTunes, iHeart, or Spotify and binge to your ear's content.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Essentially what China has been doing is eliminating this culture. They're going very strongly against Islam. They're taking away the traditions from this ethnic group, the Uyghurs. There are forms of torture. These are the claims. And so now the world wants to react. And we've got the Olympics coming up, that there's now this power to boycott and hopefully influence what China's doing over there.
Yeah, yesterday I tweeted out something. I said, I don't often agree with Nancy Pelosi. And I did. I've been filling in this week for the 3 Martini Lunch with Jim Garrity, who's one of the big editors and writers over there at the National Review, very conservative. And he said, we did a segment on this where he agrees with Nancy Pelosi. And, for the National Review, like, that's the ultimate. It's not Republican. That's the ultimate of conservatism. And he's like, you guys hear me right. And I tweeted it out earlier in the day that I agree. She's tossing around the idea, should we boycott? Should we boycott some of these things? We give these authoritarian governments this great opportunity to what? To host something at the expense of other people in a country's, whether it was, Russia in the Olympics, the amount of money they spent for that, the things that we know that Putin's up about. Now you've got the World Cup next year in Qatar, which is, I mean, if you go and see what's happening with the stadiums, how they're being built essentially through slave labor by bringing people over from Bangladesh and Pakistan and India and basically taking away their opportunity to leave and forcing them to work for virtually nothing. And people are dying. I mean, these stadiums are being built and there's God knows how many people have died. And the thought process is, should we boycott? Nancy Pelosi came out, and I think she's trying to get corporate sponsors to say we don't want any part of this Winter Olympics in Beijing. Remember, 80 was very interesting with the boycotts.
This idea of boycotting Olympics, you just flash back to 1980. That's under Jimmy Carter when the U.S. boycotted the Olympics in Moscow because the Soviet Union was not withdrawing out of Afghanistan, which is, ironically, we are now pulling out of Afghanistan right when we're thinking about boycotting an Olympics, this time against China. It's interesting, during that one, other countries agreed to boycott the Soviets back then, and one of them was China.
Yeah. And by the way, just to let you know, FIFA, who hosts the World Cup, the teams are speaking out about Qatar and what's happening. I'm going to tell you guys, according to The Guardian, in an article that was published in March of this year, over 6,500 migrant workers employed to help build these massive stadiums in Qatar have died. India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, 6,500. It's crazy, man. I'm telling you. And these organizations, why they go to these places, though, the IOCs, the FIFAs and everything, because they're as corrupt as anything else, and it's just so much easier to deal with other corrupt people. Because they'll give you what you want because they know they can do anything they ask because they can print their own money and they can steal whatever else they need. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Bipartisan negotiations were ongoing for months. Republican Congressman John Katko leading the charge for his party.
The American people expect Congress to put partisanship aside for the sake of our homeland security.
And Democrats caved to Republican demands. The 10-member panel evenly split between both parties with bipartisan agreement for subpoenas. And some have suggested Leader McCarthy, who called Donald Trump during the Capitol siege and begged the president to tell his supporters to go home, could be called to testify.
Yeah. 35 Republicans sided with the Democrats. It should have been more than that. Because if you have nothing to hide, you'd want it to get all out there, right? Well, they're going to turn it into a witch hunt. Well, what do you think's going on here in Arizona as they scour for some sort of diamond they think's in the rough that is going to show everybody how the Democrats cheated, or, as they're being accused in some places, how the Republicans cheated to get rid of Trump? You don't think that's a situation where politics isn't being dragged in? Get it out there. If you have nothing to hide, get it out there. And, of course, then you go back to the fact that 35 voted for it. And so what's that make you? It makes you bad.
That is a really striking display of disloyalty inside a party where President Trump has been so dominant. President Trump urged all Republicans to oppose this measure. So that's a pretty big number to see about 36 cross-party lines like that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What do you mean? Because I think a lot of people are looking up and they're seeing two sides of this thing. Right now, it's the Liz Cheney award. You're a Republican to name only. Republican means nothing. Are you a conservative? That's something. A Republican's just, hey, this is the party I'm in because we kind of have the same understanding of things that we want. Low taxation, free markets, strong military, border, and you start checking it off. But let's not forget there's a difference between a conservative and a Republican. I think all too often those things get lost. I've said it over and over, and I'll continue to say it. The way that he governed, policies, the things that he wanted to do, very conservative in some places. Some people say even moderate. Much more of a rhino. It was the extracurricular stuff, the people he surrounded himself with, there was an issue. And now you've got, people say, you guys are disloyal. So what's that mean? Trump is the kingmaker. He's enjoying this. The party is his to do whatever he wants to it. He could make it the great party he thinks it should be, or if he feels that they get away from them because of the following that he's got, he could make it hell for everybody. What's going to really be the issue is next year. If next year comes and they lose more Senate seats and they don't get back the House, people are going to look over and go, all right, well, obviously that isn't going to work. That's still a long way away. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Did anybody win $1 million?
These are statewide drawings that would give vaccinated people $1 million each week for the next 5 weeks. And they would also give full ride scholarships to teenagers and kids. Well, the health department now says since they made that announcement, vaccinations have increased by 53%.
Yeah, that's a win right there. Right? And that's kind of how it's done. If you're trying to get people, there are 1 million entries to the Ohio $1 million lottery is what they're calling it. Vax $1 million. 53% jump. Only ages older than 80 have seen like a plateau. It's not going up or down because the majority of them have already been. But every other age group has seen a jump. So May 26th, next week, 7:29 p.m., the first drawing. Then it's followed by June 2nd, June 9th, June 16th, and June 23rd. So, if you're in Ohio, get your Vax $1 million on. And coronavirus could be the best thing that happened to you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Work. People are going to be going back to work. Some people are, some people aren't. We see that, all the jobs that are available. Again, the numbers today were extremely high compared to where we were pre-pandemic, but since the pandemic, the jobless claims today much lower than they've been in a while. But there's plenty of jobs. But the entire world is changing. A majority of people are resisting going back to work. They're pushing back. They like the hybrid model at worst, and I think a lot of them will continue to work at home if given the opportunity. But a lot of businesses are like, it's time to come in.
The willingness to do things digitally was forced upon.
By the way, this is Bill Gates. He's a billionaire and a playboy. Just want to let you guys know that.
On us. So even the older generation that did very online shopping, had to get used to that. In the past, if a salesperson was going to come and say they were interested in having you as a customer, their physical presence was kind of a necessary element. So as we go back and look at online learning versus in-person, or doctors in-person versus digital, I think we've realized some part of the activity can be done on a virtual basis.
Yeah, of course, some can. And some people are, look, this is always kind of where we were going anyways. You don't need giant spaces anymore. People can be anywhere. Digitally, we've gotten the opportunity to, be together. Now, there's some times that you need to get together for meetings, but also, especially when it comes to creative situations, there are times that, being around other people that are creative, get the juices flowing. Absolutely. But there's also a growing group of people, especially a younger group of people, that having opportunities to stay at home, to work in a different way, has given them what they wanted. And there's going to be a lot of changing going on. And I tell you, if you own office space right now, you got to be just shaking in your boots because you're looking around going, man, these people don't want to come back. We're going to have all this office space. What are we going to do with it?
Trying to decide as an employer, hey, do my employees have to be here 2 days a week, 1 week out of 4? If they live far away, are we willing to accommodate that? What's the minimum requirement? I hope people are going to their employee groups and thinking about, okay, there were some benefits to not having that long commute. There were some benefits to be able to hire people who live in different locations. And the cost of real estate, that became a barrier, particularly for the middle class jobs.
Yeah, totally. So my other business, we've got people that work all over the country and a few people all over the world. We're able to do that. Doesn't mean when we don't have a chance to get together or they come out, before the pandemic that that wouldn't happen. But they love it. Plus, it's, it saves you. Having an office is expensive. Having an office is extremely expensive. You've got to deal with everything and then some, from the lights to the electricity to all of the other things that go along with it. Having people at home saves a ton of money right there. And it also gives people the freedom that I think they enjoy. It's easier in a creative setting, right? So you got to get something done, get it done by Friday. And you're going to work within a group and stuff. Some stuff, it's tougher. But even now, next door, we've got the engineers and the architects, and they're doing hybrid, and they want to keep it that way. And I think the business is going to accommodate them on that, because I chat with them every day, and it's very interesting to see how that's playing out. But it's only certain, like you can't do the drive-through from, not yet at least, from your house.
I wrote a book 25 years ago that said digital would make the importance of city centers less important. Certainly up until the pandemic, I was more than wrong. And so we're in a very interesting period to take those lessons, elimination of paperwork and lots of travel, and say, okay, what should the new steady state be? Actually, some of those meetings I don't think need to be done in person. So at least in that example, it's dramatically better than what came before.
Yeah. It's gonna be, I find it fascinating. I would love to do more stuff. And my issue is, like where I live, Starlink is what I've signed up for. That's the new thing from Elon Musk, the Tesla guy. For those of you who don't know, Bitcoin guy, Tesla guy. We'll talk about, what he did to Bitcoin yesterday. It freaked everybody out. But I'll be able to do work from home because I drive in 65 miles a day. I put 130 miles a day plus on my car. A couple nights a week I stay here. But I also choose to live out there because I have more space. My animals, my lizards, you guys know, they have more space to do their thing. I can do stuff kind of a little bit freer than living here. And I would love to do more out there. And because I work so many hours, it would be great to even be able to sleep in a little bit later and know that my commute in the morning is 5 minutes or to the next room, but we're not there yet. But I tell you, it's coming, and more of it's going to be like this, and I think embrace it. A younger generation is going to love it. The older generations have a much tougher time with it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet, text, love hearing from you. Bitcoin. When we're talking about that, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, what Elon Musk did yesterday in the battle of the cryptocurrencies. It's very interesting. Plus, I want to get to my favorite story about, I'm just going to say a Chinese billionaire and his kid. That's all. And it's hilarious. It is so hilarious. Masterclass. Ah, man. The things you can learn are amazing on Masterclass. I'm watching Gretzky right now, and you're learning from the best in the world and the best in history at their professions. Samuel Jackson teaching you, acting. You're sitting here and you're looking at Ron Howard talk about directing. Shonda Rhimes teaching about, writing for TV and movies, whether it's David Axelrod and Karl Rove talking about campaigning and how to build a campaign. And you go through it, but it's also got, Michelin star chefs, and it's got the greatest of the greats in just about everything you could think of. And they're always adding new things. It's great. It's 20 lessons per course, right? So if you're going to go watch Ron Howard, you get about 20 lessons, about 10 minutes per lesson, downloadable materials. It's just awesome. It's 41 cents a day. Learn from the best. Take your potential hobby, your dream, your passion, maybe to the next level. Sign up today, save an extra 15%. Simple and easy. Go to masterclass.com/Benson, masterclass.com/Benson, masterclass.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
With the CDC saying fully vaccinated folks can forego the face masks, pandemic-delayed live shows are finally back in play. Foo Fighters will headline Lollapalooza July 29th through August 1st at Chicago's Grant Park. Country legend George Strait's returning to his Las Vegas residency in August. And pop stars Jonas Brothers hit the road that same month for a fall tour.
Yeah, there's so many things. Bad Bunny. I mean, you start going down the list of people that are going to tour towards the end of this year and through next year. They've got to make up. The record industry isn't what it used to be. The money they make now that they really grab a hold of is essentially, it used to be you toured to support the album. Now, the album supports the tour in the sense that you can get people there and you start selling your merch and a lot of the other stuff. Somebody asked me yesterday, are you going to be going to any concerts this year? And my answer was simply no. No, I don't think I will be. Not because I don't like concerts, but because I don't like people. Actually, it's parking. That's the thing that drives me the most, crazy the most. If I could show up somewhere, kind of have a little bit of space, watch the concert, and then snap my fingers and be gone, I'm all over it. But when you start putting, parking and, it's one of those things where I've been to so many concerts and festivals and stuff, being in this industry for as long as I have. I've worked in, music radio for a long time as well. And I used to always laugh about that because I would go to a place, and I do the same thing with sports, right? Like sporting events. Like, I'll show you. I love soccer. I think you guys know that. I love it. I didn't go to the World Cup final. I'm like, I don't want to deal with parking. It was a horrible game in '94. So, but that's a lot of it. It's like, I don't want to sit there and fight people for 4 hours to get out of the parking lot. And going to events like that, I sit there and think to myself the entire time, oh my God, I got to leave soon. I got to get in this damn car. I'm going to be sitting out there. It's going to be frustrating. People can be honking. I think a lot of people feel that way. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I want to get to the Chinese billionaire, but I don't know if there's enough time to do it. But I just want to tell you, I'll give you a snapshot of what it is. He bought a team, a soccer team in the second division in China, and he forces the team to play his kid. And let's just say his kid's 35 and 70 to 100 pounds heavier than everybody else on the field. We'll get deeper into it a little bit later. Bitcoin. Yesterday, the cryptocurrencies took up. What happened? What happened on the cryptocurrencies? What happened? It's pretty simple. Know this, that there is not a lot of people that have cryptocurrency. So any movement in there is going to be wild swings and volatile. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. It fell yesterday. Bitcoin did big time. But it's bounced back. It's at 41, almost 42,000. Ethereum's at 3,000. And you could start looking at, a lot of these things. Dogecoin, which is everybody's darling because it's inexpensive. And it's kind of funny that, it's a meme that became a coin. But you start looking at a lot of these things. One of the reasons it went down is Elon Musk said he wasn't selling his $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. I think a lot of people thought he was. The second thing is China is basically telling everybody, you guys can't use Bitcoin. Anybody here, you guys aren't going to be able to use it. It's not regulated. They start going into some stuff, but the reality is you would be able to buy things and do things that the Chinese government aren't going to really be able to see. So that's kind of the whole thought process with blockchain, and that's why I went yesterday. It's a big marketplace to lose potentially. But I think cooler, calmer heads prevail. Bitcoin's trading at $42,000. It's pretty good. Imagine if you bought it, I don't know, at a nickel. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
McDonald's recently announced that they were going to be raising their minimum wage, quote unquote, to $15 an hour. But what they didn't say is that it was only for their corporate locations, which only covers about 5% of all of the McDonald's across this country. 95% of McDonald's locations are franchises. And so we're not buying it and we're not falling for it.
Who are we? That's all that they can do. The corporate is the corporate. The individual owner AOC of the place, that person right there gets to make his or her choice on what's best for their business right there. The corporate side said, we're going to do this. The corporate side. People down the street that own 2 or 3 McDonald's, they're doing what they do because that's what they get to do with their business. Remember, these jobs weren't meant to be raise a family of 4. So you're working at McDonald's. Now, if you maybe have aspirations to grow into management and maybe one day own your own McDonald's, okay, that's fine. But for a lot of people, this is a job. Younger people, sometimes some older people who are just still in the workforce because they're being forced to. Sometimes it's because they got nothing else to do. They're out of their other job. And this is, they're semi-retired and they're like, well, I don't want to sit at home all day. And sometimes it's low-skilled workers. But we're not buying it. Okay. Well, you don't have to buy it. By the way, I like McDonald's. I buy it. Their fries are delicious.
And I'm here to tell McDonald's directly that you're not going to do this as a PR effort, and you're not going to trick us into thinking that you're raising minimum wage to $15 an hour for all your workers when you're only doing it for 5%. It's time to step up. If you want to look like you're raising your wages to $15 an hour, then you should actually raise your wages to $15 an hour for every McDonald's worker in this country.
Does she not get how that works? She not understand? So I have my store. Essentially, I'm paying McDonald's a vig every month to have the Big M and the recipes. But it's my store. I've set up my own corporation. I run it my way outside of the policies that they want me when it comes to buying their hamburger, their, the stuff that McDonald's sells back to you. That's how they make their money. It's always made their money. Same thing with like Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't want to own anything. I want somebody else to own it. And they buy the stuff from me. You go back and look at the Great Gold Rush. You know who got rich? People who sold everybody the stuff. That's who got rich. There's gold in their heroes. Really? Yeah, but you're going to need some stuff to mine with. Oh, yeah. There's gold in them there French fries. Yeah, but you need the recipe and the French fries. They, at one time, had several hundred stores. They don't have as many as they used to, and they allow their franchisees to run their stores independently. She's unaware of this?
And so if you want to talk about it, you got to be about it and you got to walk it. And so we're here to let McDonald's know that the United States Congress is not being tricked or duped into thinking that they have raised all their wages to 15. And we will not stop adding pressure until they listen to their workers and actually fulfill the demands that you all are asking for. It should be a human right. It should be minimum.
It should be minimum. $15 an hour. Maybe 20. We're not quite sure. 30? I posted something the other day about, we're going to start a rumor about jobs going away. So that way people start going out and looking for jobs. And it is funny to listen and to see people's reactions about, hey, well, you should pay so-and-so this, and you should pay some people that, and you should do this. And one guy writes me and he says, I refuse to tip workers. Even at restaurants. I'm like, why? Well, that's not my job. My job should be, they should pay them a living wage. Okay, so you're going to pay them a living wage, what you think is a living wage, and then their tips go away? Because if all my food gets more expensive, if everything else gets far more expensive, then the tips go away. And let me tell you something. You ask servers, bartenders, do you like your tips? Do you enjoy your tips? Do you enjoy your tax-free tips? They'll be like, yeah, I make a lot more money. I can go in and make a couple $100 in 3 or 4 hours. Oh, you mean you don't want $15 an hour and that's it? No. The battle of business and the left. And it's funny because there's a lot of people on the left that are very much big business. But it's stuff like this that gets the headlines and the push of, hey, I'm going to force you guys to pay this much money to people because we think it's right. It's not your business. Go start a business. Go own a business. Go have to write paychecks. Have to figure out how you're covering stuff. And then get back to everybody. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from you. Speaking of jobs.
The number of weekly jobless claims dropped for a third straight week to 444,000, the lowest since the pandemic began. It's a sign of strength for the labor market. The number of people still receiving some form of jobless benefit remains historically high at 16 million, but that number, too, is down, suggesting some of those laid off during the pandemic are finding work.
Yeah, I think some people are. I think some people enjoyed what they had for a while, and now they're figuring, well, it's time to get back to work. And that's totally cool because that's what you should be doing. We shouldn't be paying people to stay at home as much as some people would enjoy doing that. I don't think we should do that at all. I think most people realize that, and you're seeing more and more states refuse the federal money, saying, no, it's time for people, it's a little tough love, time for people to get back out there. And it's been hard because if you're a parent and your kids are no longer in school because schools were closed, you were stuck between a rock and a hard place. Maybe your kids were younger and your childcare was closed. All of those things are very relevant. And that's why I've said from the beginning of this, the better thing would have been to give the money to people in the form of a credit for child care and allowed them to get back to work. But people are returning to work. People are feeling better. The fear factor of the pandemic itself, I think is, I don't know about you, but I feel like everything's pretty normal. Like we're just we're waiting for that, thing where you look over and they finally go, all right, we're good. Let's do it. Let's turn on the boosters. Let's go. Some places are kind of doing that, but you also still have this confusion about the mask thing. And I think the mask thing will be the absolute signal. When you walk into a store and you're not worried about somebody accosting you for not wearing a mask or for not wearing it the right way or for, we're still asking you to wear a mask.
Take an example of an establishment, a store, where we don't have passports for vaccine. Right. I mean, we don't know who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. I have heard of situations that a person who owns an establishment says, okay, they say that you don't have to wear a mask indoors if you're vaccinated, but I have an establishment in which there may be people who are unvaccinated and infected and other people who are unvaccinated and not infected, and there's a risk of transmitting it in my establishment. Therefore, that person has every right to say, when you come into my establishment, you better put a mask on. Otherwise, don't come in.
Yeah, well, they have a right to ask you to do anything. You have to buy a membership. Well, that's very exclusive. That's not very nice. I'm waiting for that one, right? Like, hey, having a membership to Costco is a human right. If they want you to wear top hat and tails. I play golf a lot. Like where I'm going to go today, I go usually play 9 in between my shows. I'll go for a little workout, and then I'll play 9 or hit balls every single day. It's a public course, right? So today I've got a T-shirt on because I ended up staying here overnight, and I had all of the stuff, but I didn't have a shirt, so I had to go raid the prize closet here. So I'm wearing our sister station's sports shirt. But I can go out in this. The weekends where I play by my house, it's collar, it's all of these things. You can't just roll places out like in jeans and stuff like that. You see, so there are certain things that businesses can ask you to do, and one of those for this, because we live in a world of, lawsuits. So businesses are going to be extra cautious, and part of the reason, that's one of the things that I wish the Republicans would have really fought harder for in some things, which was giving essentially immunity to businesses. Saying, look, you can't sue a business because you got the coronavirus, because you might have been 1,000 places before you were even there. So how tracing it back, you're just looking for a paycheck at that point in time. But the mask thing is very interesting. People are still angry about it. The schools, are they, won't they, will they? You go into business, you walk in, you got your mask in your hand. It's like, how many people here are wearing a mask? I don't know. So that to me will be the final. Like once 99.9% of places aren't going to argue with you, ask you, fight with you over a mask, doesn't mean people still won't. That's when you say, all right, I feel like we're back. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet, text. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. Try to get back to as many people as I can. Rough greens. Let me tell you about rough greens. So Canine VitaSmart, it's got vitamins, minerals, vegetables. It's got probiotics. It's got omega-3, 6, 9. It's all this amazing, groupings of incredible nutrients and things that are great for your dog. And it's a supplement. And you just sprinkle it on your dog's food. I started giving rough greens to my dog, Doodle. So I started giving Canine VitaSmart a little over a year and a half ago. And I've told you guys the story, and if you've heard the story before, my dog Doodle was close to the end because he had gotten to the point where he was in so much pain that you couldn't even get near him without him biting, and he bit the kids, and he'd bite me, and it was obvious the pain was horrific. So we just said, well, we're going to try this, see what happens. 16 months later or so, hips don't hurt. His coat is 1,000 times better. He's more active and healthier than he's been since we've had him. We give it to our puppies because we want that start them off right. It's amazing. Sprinkle on top of your dog's food and watch what happens. Let Rough Greens work. Now, Rough Greens wants you to try it before you buy it. You pay shipping. They're going to get it to you for free. ruffgreens.com/Chad, ruffgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MY-DOG-77, 833-MY-DOG-77. You pay for the shipping. They're going to give you the bag for free. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
Let's see what's trending around the globe and here in the United States of America. Start with Twitter. Let's start there, find out what's trending. Lakers and Warriors last night. LeBron hits a clutch three. Gives the Lakers a win in the play-in game. That's how they're doing it now in the NBA. So the Lakers won the play-in game. Pretty good. Arizona auditors say voter data is intact, walking back previous claims about the Maricopa County audit, according to fact checkers. And if you've not been following it, it's all over the place. This audit is, this stuff was deleted, that it wasn't deleted, but then it was corrupted, that it wasn't there. But the people that are running this is what's the funny. So the people who are running the Twitter for the audit are actually people that don't live here, that they have given them everything to run the Twitter. Just said, here, you do it. They've changed the passwords, and they're just throwing out all kinds of stuff and accusations. And whole thing is not making Arizona or the people here, especially Republicans, feel like things are rocking and rolling. In fact, we talked to the former governor yesterday, Jan Brewer, and she says it's an embarrassment. I said, if you were governor, would you go in there and crack down on it? She goes, yeah, we'd be having some conversations. But Doug Ducey is not. He's just, we'll let it play out. Head on over to Google, Bitcoin price, 2 million searches yesterday. What's going on with Bitcoin? What is this? Demi Lovato. Of course, yesterday she came out as non-binary. I came out as non-dairy, and then everybody got mad at me. Because we know that's a lie. I love dairy. Are you kidding me? I love cheese. I love ice cream. Silly Chad. You're so silly. Lollapalooza lineup. It's going through it again and again yesterday. 3-day festival. It's going to be in Chicago. And we do have a Limp Bizkit sighting. But the headliners, the Foo Fighters, Post Malone, and Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus will be the headliner for one night. Tickets on sale now. Tyler, the Creator, DaBaby. But, man, some of these, we were going through yesterday, some of these names were just amazing. But go look at the side stage. I was talking to one of the guys that works here yesterday. He's like, 3 years ago, he goes, because I think it was at Electric Daisy Festival or something. Side stage, like 2 p.m. on a Saturday. There's like 40 people there. Good seats in that area were quite available. And obviously there's no seats. It's just a fest of people walking around, but it's one of those side stage. And it was this young kid named Billie Eilish. And nobody was looking at her. Nobody's paying any attention. We thought, well, she's pretty good. So it's always that one down at the bottom with the tiny writing that you think next year they could be huge. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Story of the day. We'll get to it. He's a Chinese billionaire, and he apparently really, really, really is the king helicopter parent / bulldozer parent. Where do you hear this story? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
This is 4D with Demi Lovato. Living in the fourth dimension means existing consciously in both time and space. For me, it means having conversations that transcend the typical discourse. I want to take this moment to share something very personal with you. Over the past year and a half, I've been doing some healing and self-reflective work. And through this work, I've had the revelation that I identify as non-binary. With that said, I'll officially be changing my pronouns to they, them.
Of course, that drew a lot of people in yesterday, and we poke fun at it. And I'm not going to lie to you, the identity that everybody needs to have is everybody's got to have some sort of special classification. And I know that sounds, that's not very nice. I don't care what you identify. I'll say this: my godson used to be a goddaughter. I love Roger. That's not his name. He chose this is what we've come up with. They all seem to go, right, and they say, I identify as this now, and I'm going to change my name and go by this, and then they all go find, like, the Harry Potter books, and they just pick a name. And so we said, that's fine, but I call you Roger. But everybody's looking for something, right? Everybody's looking for something. And some of this stuff, let's be honest, people are afraid to say it. Some of this stuff is insane. It is. It's nuts. And you can't talk about it because, geez, if you talk about it, you can be in trouble. I mean, we're at the point where, like, we're trying to create special things. And, I want to be identified as this. I want to be called this. And I want to be like, okay, I don't care. Can I just call you Demi? Is that, or do I have to refer to you as a they, them? I joked yesterday. I identified as non-dairy. And I got a bunch of backlash for that. And it's just, it is kind of ridiculous. I think we can all admit that. But you say it and you get in trouble for it. From who? Or from whom? No, I want to be just identified as the Who. Not only do I want to be identified, Producer Phil, as the Who, I want to be identified as the writer of all the songs of the Who. And you must pay me.
I'll give you that.
You must pay me as such. Yesterday, a legend in Boston radio guy, Maddie in the Morning. He was joking about this. His show, just to give you guys a feel of Maddie in the Morning, started in 1981, and he has dominated Boston. And he was talking about this. How do you not talk about it? And much like me, he found some of it just insane. Because do we need an announcement all the time of stuff? I don't care what you identify as. Tell me your name. By the way, if you tell me your name today is Demi, and then the next day you want to be called Dan, you're going to pick a name, and we're going to go with it. That's it. You don't get 3 name changes a day. This isn't a concert or a play. And we've had to deal with that here with some interns who apparently believe they're chameleons. So Maddie in the Morning started talking about it.
But I was told by my boss I cannot talk about what I want to talk about. And by the way, it's a joke, the whole binary thing. I don't care what Demi Lovato does. But now we have to worry about you might offend someone. So I basically offended right-wing people, and today I offended left-wing people. So basically what they want me to do is to be, a lightweight show. We have that in the market.
Yeah, he's right. It's nuts. It's crazy. Well, you're being mean. I'm not being mean. Because you know what? Many people are like, oh, that's you shouldn't say those kind of things. Then when you're alone with them, like, I think it's crazy too. I'll just throw something out there. My first producer, when I started the show, those many years ago, he, being part of the LGBT, that's all it was. That's how long ago the show started. There was only a few letters. Then it got all the way to the alphabet. He's gay. And you say, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Don't understand it. I think it's weird. And we would laugh about it. Oh, how dare you do that? It befuddles. Like, I want to be called Chad. Why? It's my name. That's how I identify myself. Chad. What's your name? Chad? Hey, Chad, what's going on, Chad? But we have to change the way that we live. We have to change the language in the country. We have to do all of these things. People are creating victimhoods because it works great and people are championed. And you can't dare ask a question. More from Maddie in the morning.
And I can't do that. So basically what I'm told is I can talk about light, funny things and where the Jonas Brothers are going to be, but I can't do what I really want to do, which is just be a funny comic who tells it like it is about what he's thinking. So I'm ending my portion of the radio show right now.
Yep. Said he likes his boss, but he walked out. Now he's back today. But he said yesterday, look, if I want to make fun of Trump and Trump's people, and I do that, everybody's fine with it. But if I dare make fun of something or ask questions or any of these things, my goodness me, how dare you? How dare you broach a subject like that? How dare you? That person's a victim. That person's this, that person. No, enough. Let me tell you something. I made fun of this guy here.
The United States of America is the greatest country in America.
It's not to make fun of, right? I made fun of him and his insanity and belief that the election was stolen and that somehow board members were responsible for the election being stolen. They were a part of it. That maybe that one of the board members fed his chickens ballots, then burned down his farm that killed 166,000 chickens, his livelihood. This is where this is. And you can make fun of him. I can make fun of the QAnon shaman all day. His attorney came out and said he's essentially brain damaged. He's on the spectrum. He said they're all on the spectrum. They all take the short bus, is what he said. They're blanking the R word. You can do that and have a laugh with it. It's no big deal. You question why somebody wants to be called they, them? Crowd. I'm just going to go by crowd. Can't do it. It's nuts. It truly is. Yesterday, Chris Rock was on with Charlamagne the God, this podcast, talking about the cancel culture. Because if you broach it, if you say something, if you dare bring up something that somebody feels that you shouldn't bring up because you shouldn't talk about anything that could be offensive to somebody's feelings, well, then you must go.
What are your thoughts on the cancel culture? Like, if you say something wrong, people will try to cancel you immediately. You even see Ellen dealing with it with her workplace. It seems like it drove her crazy when she's like, you know what, I'm retiring.
When the audience doesn't laugh, that we get the message. Mm-hmm. You don't really have to cancel us because we get the message. They're not laughing. I don't understand why people feel the need to go beyond that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you think you know more than the audience. The audience knows more than everybody, okay?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Why they want you canceled is because the audience is laughing because they realize that a majority of people think that whatever this chaos is absolutely insane and they can laugh about it, so they want to hold you responsible. It's not cancel culture. It's about punishing things. It's not right.
What happens is everybody gets safe.
Right.
When everybody gets safe and nobody tries anything, things get boring. Because I see unfunny TV shows, I see unfunny award shows, I see unfunny movies. Because everybody's scared to make a move. And that's not a place to be. We should have the right to fail.
Right.
Failure is a part of art. It's the ultimate cancel. Now, you got a place where people are scared to talk. That's not, especially in America, you're scared to talk.
Scared to talk. It's nuts. Being in this business as long as I have seen people who have gone and one tweet, one thing, boom. They're not working. Can't get a job to save their life. being judged on something that, by the way, more often than not, they're being told, yeah, we agree with you, but. And the peer pressures, you better not say something or else. That is just, it boggles the mind. It does. And people just roll with it. And people give into it. And they bend down on, oh, we're so sorry. Forgive us. Don't. It's like, my God, that guy the other day on, was it Jeopardy, says, I'm going in for the kill. And he's got to write this giant mea culpa of how sorry he is for saying that. And I'm just like, oh, God, how do you people live?
When you staying in a hotel and they cleaning your room, right? Mm-hmm. You ever come back early and they not done yet? It looks horrible.
Right.
And to properly clean, it has to get dirtier.
Right.
It has to get messier. And to properly make good art, you have to get dirty. It has to get bad. You got to be able to see it from every angle. You got to examine every word.
Yeah. And Chris Rock's right. Being a comic, we talk about meritocracies, right? What's the ultimate? So somebody's good at something, right? Somebody's great at something. Somebody who is that will shine through. Even now, though, no matter how good you are, you've got to be in such a position, the Clint Eastwoods of the world, where you're so respected, other people might want to have you canceled, but the powers that be respect you enough that they won't, because you have such a strong following that people are still going to work with you. But for the average person, no. For the average person, that's not true anymore. And so the Joe Rogans can say things that many people feel, and they don't have to worry. He didn't have to worry about it. Let them freak out. Let them lose their mind. But how many of you sat there yesterday and thought, why, this whole thing is insane, but you would never say that out loud? Bet a ton of you.
Hey, if cancel culture helps out, people that are marginalized, that's good. Mm-hmm. If you're handicapped, you're Native American, that's great. The fact that people are nervous offending marginalized people is a good thing. But anything that stops artists from trying, from reaching, that's not good.
No. And by the way, we're now in a world where a lot of people are looking for ways to marginalize themselves because victimhood is a good thing. It's seen as a badge of courage, and people rally around it. They do. They rally around it. And it's silly. I sit back and I think to myself, we got to do better. Oh, you shouldn't make fun of people. Yeah, you should. Sometimes people deserve to be made fun. I get made fun of all the time. I get called horrible things, and I would never once ask somebody to be fired. Never once would I ever ask that. They have the right and their opinion. I think so many times, people are grasping at straws and they want to be special. And they create something that makes them feel that way. Like I said, I don't care if you're non-binary. I don't care if you identify as they, them, a crowd, a tree. But to think that people can't have a question or think, that's the insanity part. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet your hate at me. I'm okay with that. Masterclass is amazing. The masters of really just about everything. We're talking about the likes of Wayne Gretzky, Tony Hawk, Samuel L. Jackson, Shonda Rhimes, the best in the world, teaching Wolfgang Puck how to cook, about hockey, how they went from point A to point B and then eventually made it, how they built up their businesses, their brands, and you can learn. You can expand your mind, and on top of that, as you're expanding that, you may have something you've dreamed of doing, and you say to yourself, I have a great novel in me. I just know it, but I just don't know how to put it all together. You'll find a way through the likes of Malcolm Gladwell and many, many others. Each course, so you take a course, right? It's 20 sessions. Each session is about 10 minutes. There's downloadable materials. So whether you think to yourself, I'd love to learn how to make the perfect omelet, and Wolfgang Puck and Gordon Ramsay are going to show me, or maybe I've always been curious about running a campaign in politics, here's David Axelrod and Karl Rove to show you. It's about 41 cents a day. Join now. Save an extra 15%. It's simple. It's easy. You go to masterclass.com/Benson, masterclass.com/Benson, masterclass.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be a gender.
Are you stupid?
Are you kidding me? Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Oh, I can't believe that. You played that thing. White privilege. You guys know who you are. The worst. My buddies and I used to always dream of this when we were kids. We're going to get rich one day. We're just going to buy a soccer team, and we're just going to put ourselves in. That's it. You ever seen the movie, was it Heaven Can Wait, with Warren Beatty? Where he dies, but he wasn't supposed to die. They redid it a few years ago. I think Chris Rock was in it. But in the original version, he dies, and he's a backup quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams, I think. And it was a mistake. Shouldn't have died. So they have to give him a new body. And he's like, well, I want to still play football. So they find him a suitable-ish body, and it's a guy who's like a billionaire. So he buys the team, and then he wants to play quarterback. We've always joked about the fact we do that. Well, it's happened now. Chinese businessman bought Zibo Kachu, second division Chinese soccer club, then handed it essentially over to his son and also told him, hey, my son wants to play. His son is Shihua. He's 35. He's now the principal owner of the team. And he also wears the number 10 shirt. So the number 10 shirt is usually kind of the shirt that you wear is the best person on the team. He is not the best person on the team. He's a little bit larger than most of them by 60 to 100 pounds. But watching his moves are hilarious. It's good money. I'm telling you guys. If you got that kind of money, don't put it past me. I would absolutely do it if I had the chance. Buy a team and go, my buddy Kenny and I think we should play up front. I'm taking all the penalties. Chad Benson Show.
This is The Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The number of weekly jobless claims dropped for a third straight week to 444,000, the lowest since the pandemic began. It's a sign of strength for the labor market. The number of people still receiving some form of jobless benefit remains historically high at 16 million, but that number too is down, suggesting some of those laid off during the pandemic are finding work.
Yeah. Time to get back out there. Time to stretch those work legs. Time to start getting a paycheck that doesn't come from Uncle Sam. A lot of people are realizing that. People are starting to get back out there, reluctantly. I could see that. You've been sitting around all day, working on your golf game, right? Maybe just, going back and learning a few new skills for something. I could see, hanging out with your friends you haven't seen for a while. But it's time now. It's time. Oh, Chad, you're just saying that like you act like. No, there are a lot of people that did that. There were also a lot of people that made business decisions, which is understandable. They're looking around going, I'm making more money not working. Why would I make less to work? That's understandable as well. Whether or not you think it's right or wrong. And some people are saying, even if I made more money at work at this moment in time, because of childcare and the fact that I don't have some, and they start breaking it down, it's a loss. But it's time to get back to work. It's time to get back out there. It's time for us to get moving again. I think we're on that last tier of not quite feeling pre-pandemic-y. And that is the fact that we still have masks.
Take an example of an establishment, a store, where we don't have passports for vaccine. Right. I mean, we don't know who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. I have heard of situations that a person who owns an establishment says, okay, they say that you don't have to wear a mask indoors if you're vaccinated, but I have an establishment in which there may be people who are unvaccinated and infected and other people who are unvaccinated and not infected, and there's a risk of transmitting it in my establishment. Therefore, that person has every right to say, when you come into my establishment, you better put a mask on. Otherwise, don't come in.
I think some people will still do that. I think part of the reason is it's the CYA world that we live in. Do you trust that person? You're not going to ask them, have you been vaccinated? You're going to go in the honor system. And we think you're being truthful and you're not wearing that. But it also goes back to, if you've been vaccinated, what do you care if somebody's wearing a mask or not? If you haven't been vaccinated, minus a very, very small number of people, and chances are those people might be wearing a mask anyways. But if you haven't been vaccinated, you're fine with not wearing a mask because you don't believe this is serious, or you believe it's serious enough, but you're willing to take the risk and you understand what the risks are. So at the end of the day, this charade, as I joke, the charade, the kabuki theater, it needs to end. We need to get on to getting on. And I think the mask is that last hurdle. Right now, what are we at? We're at like less than 30,000 cases a day. That's pretty good. We're not at herd immunity. We're not going to get at herd immunity. The way that we seem to think that herd immunity it just disappears and never comes, never ever to be heard from or seen or any of these things. Again, that's not true. We don't reach herd immunity with the flu. Enough people get vaccinated or have built up some sort of resistance because of the antibodies, even if they get sick, and we've got treatments for it. Remember, the flu lasts about 13 weeks, maybe 15 to 20 weeks. But when you start breaking it down and looking what the average daily infection rate is of the flu, in this, we're pretty much there. So it's time to get known. It's time to get back to work, which I think most people agree is the right thing to do.
Job openings right now are at a record high in America. There are 8 million jobs available going into April, yet in that month, only about 250,000 people actually were hired. And the unemployment rate actually went up. We lost manufacturing, lost retail, we lost healthcare jobs last month. Construction jobs were flat. 10 million people are unemployed right now, even though there are 8 million job openings.
Yeah. And it's a little bit more than that, but there's more than enough if you want to go out and get it. And the question is, do you want to go out and get it? And I think for some people, they're realizing, all right, it's time to get myself out there. For others, they're making decisions based on certain things. But a lot of it's going to do on your state, because a lot of states are pulling it back. Sorry, we don't need your federal money anymore. Now you have to live off just what the state gives you. which I think is going to make some people really have to make decisions. It's that tough love side of things. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. So yesterday, the Republicans, 35 of them voted along with the Democrats to say we need a commission to look into what took place on January 6th. First of all, there's been a lot of pushback from Republicans, in one in particular, Mr. McCarthy.
There's a degree of self-interest here. Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump are actually two individuals that this commission, if it's up and running, will almost certainly want to talk to find out about the interactions on that day. So I think this is actually a pretty important marker for the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. They've had discussions, negotiations about how this thing would play itself out if there was a commission.
Bipartisan negotiations were ongoing for months. Republican Congressman John Katko leading the charge for his party.
The American people expect Congress to put partisanship aside for the sake of our homeland security.
And Democrats caved to Republican demands. The 10-member panel evenly split between both parties with bipartisan agreement for subpoenas. And some have suggested Leader McCarthy, who called Donald Trump during the Capitol siege and begged the president to tell his supporters to go home, could be called to testify.
So with it passing now, it goes to the Senate. What's the Senate going to do? It's evenly split. Is it going to stay that way? Well, you probably figure Mitt Romney is going to jump onto the side of the Democrats. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one or two, Susan Collins and a few others. And if you're a Republican and you don't feel that there was any kind of insurgency, you feel that this has all been completely fabricated, that none of this is real, and that this is a lie, then you should be absolutely open to having this out there so you can put those things to rest.
And in the Senate, Democrats would need the support of at least 10 Republicans in order to get this legislation passed. And so far, only a handful of Republicans have told us that they are open to the idea of it.
So we'll see what takes place and see what happens with those 35. Because those 35 that voted with the Democrats, they're going to be in trouble.
That is a really striking display of disloyalty inside a party where President Trump has been so dominant. President Trump urged all Republicans to oppose this measure. So that's a pretty big number to see about 36 cross-party lines like that.
Yeah. All that being said, will it actually get done? I just don't know. I don't know if there is enough in there to get it done. And, I got no problems with it. Because if you have nothing to hide, if there is nothing to look at, then you should be absolutely open to them taking a look and having let's be real, it was a dark day. It was a black eye to us. It was. It was absolutely a situation where it was awful. Now, whether you want to call it an insurgency or mostly peaceful protesters, that's fine. But you should want to look into it. And we don't. We should look into all of these things that are taking places in the inner cities where they riot and then they go and they take. We should absolutely be looking at all of these things. Why? Is this organized? Were there other people involved in this? Was there people pushing these things out? Those are all questions that should be asked and answered. But politics gets in the way. And I think we all know once politics lands, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. 323-538-2423. It's your text line. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter and your Instagram. MyPillow has towels, amazing towels, incredible towels. Super soft, very absorbent, no lotiony feel, 60-day money-back guarantee. And this is what you get. Normally it's $110 for the set of 6, but it's $45. Several colors to choose from. You get 2 of those big, amazing towels. Then you get those 2 hand towels, those medium towels. Then you get some washcloths. Oh, and they're incredible. Several colors to choose from. 60-day money-back guarantee. Cotton's grown right here in the United States of America. They've got great deals across all of their amazing products, from their slippers to their bed sheets to their mattress topper and the MyPillow. Save big. Go to MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson. MyPillow.com. Promo code Benson to save big. Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
With more than 250 Palestinians killed and over 70,000 bombed out of their homes, President Biden calling for de-escalation to begin yesterday, a demand Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has so far ignored, saying he's determined to continue this operation until its objective is achieved.
Yep. I don't even know what that's going to be. Rockets are continuing to fly in. Netanyahu's been pretty straightforward at this point in time. We're going to do this at our pace, and whatever we decide to do, we're going to do. If we decide to press on, we're going to press on. If we decide to take a deep breath and stay on high alert but not move forward, we'll do that. But then you ask yourself, the question is, they react, and some people say they overreact. But when you have rockets fired at you, you know, these ceasefires, in many cases, they're only as good as the ink it's written on, and many times by the time that the ink's drying out, there's rockets on the way. And that's when they say, all right, we've had enough, and we move forward.
After the 11th straight night of explosions, Hamas officials predicting a ceasefire to come within a day or two. And this morning, Hamas continuing to fire rockets into Israel, civilians scurrying for cover. Israel's Iron Dome blocking most of the rockets. But 5 Hamas rockets making it into Israel's southern city of Sderot, destroying homes and turning cars into fireballs.
Yeah. I like how they say, hey, you know what? In the next day or two, we're going to have a ceasefire. Before that, let's fire off all these rockets. Feels like we're going to fire off everything we have, and then if we don't have anything else, we'll just figure it out from there. It's a mess. It's not getting any better anytime soon. It's going to continue to be a mess for the foreseeable future. But you have a much different situation than, say, several years ago because of Iran, because of what's taking place there and the fear of what might happen. What you're getting now is some Arab nations are condemning, but not as strong as they normally would. Others are just being very quiet about it because they're more worried about, because let's be real, if Iran got a nuclear weapon or they flex their muscles, Saudi Arabia, many of these other nations are going to be terrified, and they're going to need Israel potentially to level a playing field. It's a weird place, man. All over maps, and it's my holy land. That's my holy land. It's not, wasn't it? Did you guys find it weird that it's everybody's holy land? Can't just figure that out? Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it.
25 years ago, Microsoft introduced Internet Explorer, the search engine for the web in its infancy. The company has spent the last quarter century working on a replacement, and it's come up with Edge, based on the Chromium engine.
Because of that, we will retire the Internet Explorer 11 desktop application on June 15th, 2022.
Microsoft's Alex Lopez says Edge contains an Internet Explorer mode that allows it to work with older websites during the transition.
Yeah, so they're moving that. And why that's rather interesting is to think that we're 50 years deep into the interweb, if you will. And it's different because there's so many, like the 1960 Knicks. Was it a Parnet turns on? That's 1966. They say that's the greatest achievement of the internet. So it was Advanced Research Project Agency Network, which was founded in 66. The massive network was a result of several different networks merging into one. The idea that critical information could be shared in the case of a catastrophic event somewhat instantaneously, boom. It was conceptualized by Larry Roberts, who is the self-proclaimed founder of the interwebs. So Esquire magazine has the 50 greatest moments in the internet history. That's number one. You look at some of them. 1978, the birth of spam. Gary Thurk sent a message to hundreds of ARPA users. He thought of it as e-marketing. He made millions with it. As a result, along came spam. We're going to go through some of these this hour. Some of the great things that changed the internet and our world. When was the first live stream? Most people have no idea when that happened. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Some of these things that have been around, you think, how long have they been around? They've been around for a while. When did we go wireless first? When did music, quote unquote, become free? Shopping became easier. Things that changed our lives, in more cases, more often not for the better. It's interesting, though. Like, you're like, man, it's been around that long? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter, tweet at us, text the program. Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars have done it. Let the controversy begin. We'll touch on that. The Olympics, will there be a boycott? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You've got mail. I don't know if you got mail. Probably. Possible. We're just talking about the 50 best moments in internet history. 1966 is when the internet, quote unquote, kicked off. Not the way that we would see it. But Esquire counts down some of these things. It's very interesting, some of them. I'm like, I remember that. Some of them I don't remember. Some of them I don't. Some of them, the dress 2015, remember that? What color was it? Is it white? Is it gold? Is it black? Is it blue? I go, oh, yeah, I totally remember that. It was crazy. Instagram, by the way, has only been around for 11 years. What? Yeah, 11 years. The iPhone was rated number 31, and the introduction came in 2007. Also, crazy things like salad fingers and shoes. Netflix started also in 2007. The first YouTube makeup tutorial was 2006, which is a year after YouTube kicked off. Gmail started in 2004. Facebook was number 24 on this list. It started in 2004. Wikipedia, 2001. And then you start going and really start looking at some of these things. Online shopping started in 1997. Music got free in 1999. We became wireless in 97. You've Got Mail in 96. Craigslist. Both legal and illegal, they talk about here. That kicked off in 1995. Match, you can find love on the web. Also 1995. I didn't realize they've been along. eBay, same thing, 95. As did Amazon. But the World Wide Web got their popular navigator, Netscape Navigator, in 1994. Oh, I remember that. Remember you'd get home, Phil, and there would be like a CD-ROM in your
That was
mail?
AOL.
Yeah, you had all that all the time. First online camera was 94. The Connex Quick Cam, so it's $99. Became available in 94, according to PC World. The first model could only capture 320 by 240. In gray, the camera was only compatible with Mac. Yahoo in 94. The first live stream took place in 93. The Trojan Room Coffee Pot did the first live stream November 22nd, 1993. And the web itself went worldwide in 91. You start breaking some of these things down, though, it's just crazy to think about it. I just remember, what was it, like the famous Today Show with, was it Brian Gumbel and Katie Couric? What is it again? You type something. It was very interesting because you go back and look, and now, kids are born and they don't know anything other than the web, the phones, all of that stuff. It's awesome to see where we've come from and where we're going. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. I'm going to say a hard no on this. Producer Phil, this feels like something you'd try just because.
We're going to create an 8-course tasting menu with cicadas. We collected these from Princeton, New Jersey. A little sampling. They've been dwelling underground for 17 years, gorging themselves on tree sap and plant sap, where they've just been waiting for 17 years for this moment.
Oh my God, that's freaking good. It's kind of like a little bit like a tiny shrimp, like a very good bar snack that would pair well with a good Asahi beer.
I'm going to say no. Mostly because I eat like a 7-year-old. But also because no. Just gross. Oh, they're not done.
So you have the herbaceousness of the perla leaf, the beautiful fruity nuttiness of the forbidden rice, the spicy umami of the fermented kimchi cicada nymphs.
It's kind of like a high-end Nestle's like rice crunch bar with the cicada as a crunch. A little bit, yeah.
Now, Phil, you being a foodie guy, you cook all the time. So producer Phil, for you guys don't know, loves to cook. He's actually he's really a professional chef that just does this because I think he thinks he owes us a favor or something. Would you try it though? Because you're much more adventurous.
Yeah, I'd try it.
It's because they said it's like shrimp, and I know you with shrimp. I know you with any kind of you're just and oysters. I had 4,000 oysters yesterday. I just couldn't do it. It's a soup. It's a cicada soup.
When the ground reaches 64 degrees, they're going to come out and emerge en masse, where they'll molt and reach their adult life stage. Once the males and females mate, the males will die. The females lay their eggs in the trees, and they too will die. Then the eggs hatch, the nymphs fall to the ground, and they go back underground, where this incredible and beautiful life cycle would begin anew for another 17 years.
He seems very excited about that. It's going to begin anew for 17 years. I don't know if I could. I just couldn't. I just can't. Just the thought. And if you've never seen a cicada, there's I don't know how many species of them, just a ton. And they're just kind of creepy looking. And the thought, I'm very visual, right? Like texture feels and visual and a lot of things. That's just something I'm going to give a hard pass on. But for many of you who are much more adventurous, now's your chance to dig in. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. We have fun doing what we do. I try to. I tell everybody, I'm not your average guy who does this gig. I'm not. I'm not overly important. Hopefully I give you 10, 15 minutes where you can laugh during the day and think about some stuff. And I'm going to give you everybody's side. And I give you my opinion based on the data and facts. Because we don't live in a world anymore where data and facts. We live in a world now where the thing that matters most to people, unfortunately, is they want to be affirmed in their belief, and feelings should override all of those things. And it does get frustrating because it's hard to have conversations with people that you can't have conversations with. They're not interested in actual conversations. They're not interested in seeing all points of view. They're interested, again, in their affirmations. One of the things that, that frustrates me is what's going on here in Arizona. We've got this audit going on. Some people call it the fraud audit. How dare you do that, Chad? There's stuff that's going on. Have you seen the polls? Well, let me tell you something about the polls. Okay, I want everybody to understand. Everybody feels like if their side lost, that somehow the other side is cheated, which is, it's nuts. It's crazy. It's not that way. And it's sad because the disinformation, even in what the Republicans or whoever is trying to do what they're doing here, people, it's the big lie. Trump keeps pushing stuff out there. Yeah, some of it is not real. Some of it's not. But he's convinced enough people that this entire thing was stolen from him. In his mind, he never lost the election. It was stolen. In his mind, he's still somewhat of the president, and he's the kingmaker. But then you start accusing people of doing things with very little facts, very little data to back it up. And it's sad. The other day, it's like, oh, did you see this was deleted? All of these files were deleted that we needed. Okay, were they? Well, they really deleted or not. This is Ben Cotton, founder of CYFIR. He's one of the people looking into the supposed election fraud in here in Arizona.
Do you still need to get that database from the county, or did that rebuilding or recovery that you did, does that have the information you currently need for that database?
I have the information I need from the recovery efforts of the data.
The recovery efforts. Well, see, Chad, they did delete it.
I discovered a MFT that clearly indicated that the database directory was deleted from that server. So all of this, however, may be a moot point because subsequently I've been able to recover all of those deleted files and I have access to that data.
And then the county comes out and says, no, none of that's true. None of it was. It was all there. We had to give them, again, point out where it is. And you're at the point now, it's like we don't believe each other. Everybody's cheating each other. We look at each other in this weird way where can I trust you? That's so sad. It is. It is. Here's what I said when I first started doing the show. I said, I don't want to be that way. I'm not going to hammer Biden. I'm not going to hammer Trump. I'm not going to praise one side and damn the other. I'm going to just be as straight and as real as possible. We're going to have fun doing it. We're going to talk about real stuff. The state I call my home now looks like a joke because of this audit that, let me tell you how crazy this audit is. Besides all of the other stuff, we're looking for trapdoors and bamboo, and the chickens were fed the ballots and they killed all the chickens. Those are all real things. Despite all of that, you think every day, what's the latest in the insanity? There were people, there was only supposed to be, I think, 2 people that had access as they locked all these ballots up to the ballots. Apparently everybody had access to it. People were walking in and out to the point where somebody decided, I got to change the access code.
There was a lock with a shared combination on at least one of the trucks storing the ballots, and that multiple people knew the access code to that combination. This was such an egregious security issue that an Arizona ranger hired for security purposes actually changed the lock himself.
Is that insane? It is. But we live in a world now where what matters most is the look and the perception of something, not the actual doing of something. And the perception of something like this right now is the Republicans are insane. in Arizona. And the circus surrounding this makes it look even worse. That even if you found something, wouldn't matter. Who's going to believe you? Well, these people will. Those people already believe something's happened. It's not those people you need to convince. It's a reason, the saying is, I'm not going to preach to the choir. They already believe. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. You should believe in Omaha Steaks. OmahaSteaks.com. The keyword is Chad. There's a search engine bar right there. When you go to Omaha Steaks, you type in Chad, boom, up comes the Let's Go Grill offer. Father's Day is not too far away. It's a perfect gift for Dad. That also gives back to you because he's going to grill for you. Fillets, boneless chicken breasts, pork chops, kielbasa, scalloped potatoes, caramel apple tartlet. Plus, they're throwing in a $45 value, 12 Omaha Steak burgers, free, and they give you $20 off. Now, to get this amazing deal, you go to omahasteaks.com, omahasteaks.com. You use the keyword Chad at the search bar right there, and boom, up pops this. It's the Let's Go Grill package. You're going to get $20 off, plus those extra Omaha Steak burgers, which are incredible. omahasteak.com, Let's Go Grill package. Get it today. Use the keyword Chad, omahasteaks.com, keyword Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
With the CDC saying fully vaccinated folks can forego the face masks, pandemic-delayed live shows are finally back in play. Foo Fighters will headline Lollapalooza July 29th through August 1st at Chicago's Grant Park. Country legend George Strait's returning to his Las Vegas residency in August. And pop stars Jonas Brothers hit the road that same month for a fall tour.
Yep, a lot of people are going to be out and about, getting back to that normal feeling. Summer's here. People are going to be traveling. You're seeing that. Memorial Day weekend is next weekend. Last year, it felt like it took forever. Next weekend, Memorial Day weekend. And it feels like we're that next step of just getting rid of the mask. And then it's time. It's time. Now, how long the shots last for, I don't think anybody's going to know. I think for some people, depending on what you got, how long the antibodies last if you had it. Again, another one of those things. These are kind of unknown things. But they'll say they'll have boosters ready by September-ish. So we'll see. We'll see what this is going to look like. But it does feel like we have returned to a world of what we should have. Rest of the world is still having severe issues, but we're, for all the chaos, still motored in the right direction. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Panorama is a huge show in England. It's like a 60 Minutes kind of thing. Panorama's massive. They were the ones who had the explosive Princess Diana kind of expose that came out many, many, many years ago. And a lot of people thought this led to the beginning of the end for their relationship and sped it up, but also the chaos and eventually what took place that night when she died. And they've been doing a very large investigation about how any of this stuff came about. And lo and behold, the BBC's in a bit of a spot of bother.
That highly anticipated report into that explosive Princess Diana interview is now out, answering the big question, just how did Martin Bashir scoop the world and secure that interview? The BBC's independent investigation now revealing that Bashir did dupe Diana using deceitful methods. The internal investigation finding Bashir forged bank statements alleging that 2 royal employees were being paid to spy on the princess, showing them to Diana's brother Earl Spencer and convincing him to gain access to his sister.
Yeah. You're going to hear a lot about this in the next few days, but That's not good, kids. At the BBC, we trusted you. Even back then, you were doing shady things, and that's not good. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy. And if you look over there to the left, you know what you see? Same thing I do. Friday. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.